We kicked off our Italy trip in the Florence, Tuscany region, home to some of the top cultural attractions in the world, including Michelangelo's David, Botticelli's Birth of Venus, the Florence Duomo, and the nearby Leaning Tower of Pisa. Stick around for some details on checking these out. I'm honestly not a big art guy myself, but if anywhere gets me interested, Italy is a top contender. When I describe the country, usually the first thing I say is it's probably the best in the world for human culture stuff. They were the center of the world for so long that pretty much everywhere has something ridiculously historically significant. Every city, region, island, whatever seems to be world famous. Florence is near the top of that list, and consequently there's over 70 museums. We prioritized the top two, the Uffizi Gallery and the Galleria Accademia. Uffizi is the most visited museum in Italy at over 5 million people per year, and the one that has the Birth of Venus in it. It's a huge complex with over about 100 rooms containing paintings, sculptures, and more, particularly from the Italian Renaissance. As I said, I'm not really an art guy, but I know who Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Botticelli, and Rembrandt are. And I did not watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so it's not because of that. While Uffizi is along the Arno River, the Galleria Accademia is back over in the downtown area. It's smaller and more specialized, and I expect that's why it sees fewer visitors. It's only the second most visited museum in Italy. I do mean Italy, by the way, not just Florence. Its primary draw is Michelangelo's David, and unlike most famous art that I've seen, this one was far more impressive in real life than I expected. For one, it's huge. He's 17 feet tall. One helpful website compared that to a 2-story building or an adult giraffe. And then they put him on top of a big pedestal, too. He weighs 12,500 pounds and was carved from a single block of marble over about 3 years. And that's, of course, not to mention the detail of the work itself. This is a piece of art that I actually liked very much. The rest of the gallery has some paintings, but a bigger sculpture focus than the Uffizi, and I think that's why I preferred it. I just like the 3D medium more. There was another room with the large walls just lined with stone busts that was also very impressive. A word of warning that you should pre-book tickets for both these museums, and honestly nearly everything in the cities if they offer it. This was firmly shoulder season at the very end of September, and I still felt places were very crowded. I shudder to think what it must be like in the summer. Some things were sold out, many places had big lines. The other major attraction for us in Florence was the Duomo. That's basically just Italian for cathedral, but the one in Florence is considered to be the one. It's iconic, and as I've mentioned in many other videos, religion really did a number on Europe. They were definitely trying to put the fear of God in those peasants, and so the churches are a little on the excessive side. The interior was closed that weekend, but we checked out a couple aspects of the whole complex. They have their own museum next door with the kind of delicate features like sculptures that have been removed from the elements for their protection, as well as general artifacts and things that were used by the clergy or in services or the like over the years. But my favorite part was climbing the clock tower and looking off the top. 414 steps up, nearly 280 feet. It's a little different than many other similar experiences I've had, as there are actually several big open levels to stop at on the way. It's not just one tiny cramped spiral staircase the whole way up, though there is some of that, of course. I said it before, but the view off the top's just iconic. One of the more recognizable skylines, for me at least. Unlike the Ninja Turtles thing, though, I am definitely guilty of playing a lot of Assassin's Creed. I got such a kick out of how great a job they did with those games. I felt like this stuff was familiar, even though I'd never been here before. And of course, it was a gorgeous day out, so my impression of it is just overall really, really great and beautiful. We spent the second half of that day with a trip over to Pisa. There's a direct train that takes about an hour. Couple tips there. First off, there's a station called Pisa Rossore that's much closer to the Leaning Tower than Pisa Centrale. So check that out if you want to reduce the walk. And second, if buying tickets in the stations, note that there are two types of machines, both the same size, both red and white, both for trains, but one is Trenitalia while the other is Dot Italo, different companies. Make sure you get the right one. They do not cross-sell tickets. Guess how I know. The famous Leaning Tower is actually the bell tower of the Pisa Cathedral. Makes sense, I just hadn't thought about it before. So this area is a whole complex like the Florence Duomo with a museum, baptistry, tower, church, etc. to enter if you want. We checked out most of it, and the buildings are really impressive, just maybe a little less so coming right off Florence. I would agree that the tower is the most interesting part. The tilt is at about a 4-degree angle and is very noticeable. From the bottom, you can see the slope of the base, and as you climb, especially near the top, you really feel the pull to one side. It's 185 feet tall, 296 steps, so shorter than the Florence Tower, but still tall. It still feels pretty high up there. Nice view of the cathedral and surrounding town. This is such a popular destination that it's neat to see how worn down some of the stone stairs are just from people walking over the years. Another to definitely pre-book, by the way. And of course, this has to be a top destination for people watching. Everyone needs at least some version of posing trying to hold up the tower. It's basically a requirement if you go there. Same way you need to get pasta and pizza and gelato and whatnot when you're visiting Italy. We covered our bases pretty quickly just in these first couple cities and still had the rest of the trip to supplement the food experience. I tend towards more nature stuff personally, but as I said, Italy is a top cultural destination. Florence and Pisa were basically what I expected, really lived up to their reputations, if that's your thing. It's the real-life version of a lot of human history you normally might just learn about in class or something, and good perspective for those of us who live somewhere a little younger. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. This is just going to be one of my Italy trip videos, so be sure to check the playlist if you want to see the rest. Thanks.